vacuum tubes are warming up. This is a special live broadcast right here on Georgia Radio.
Well, here we are again, Georgia Radio with the Georgia Folk and Farm Life Radio Show. And I'm Wade, here with Matt. And tonight we have a special guest, Randy Olive. Hello, Randy.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I think everybody's doing fine, and they will be. We entertain them tonight, and that's what we're going to do. Give them a little entertainment. Matt, we having fun yet?
Oh, I'm having a blast. I'm just here mashing the buttons tonight.
Yeah, mashing the button.
I've been doing, been on the air now all day today, 10 to 2. I got this new job where I play music during the day from 10 to 2. I don't know how that happened.
Like a real DJ.
I'm telling you.
It's like you own a radio station
every day, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2, whether I want to be or not. No, I'm happy to do it. So glad to be here with you tonight, hanging out. Had my dinner.
And you're going to do the Wednesday morning
Yeah. Wednesday
show,
morning.
Matt, friends.
That's right. Neighbor to neighbor swap shop tomorrow morning. So
That's right.
Buy, swap, and sell whatever you've got tomorrow.
We need some, regulars on there like they used to have at the station there in Swainsboro for years. They had the old guy that lived by the water tower. And I can't remember his name, but
I remember you telling me about
come
this.
see me over him by the water tower. Y'all just look. I'm right here on the bottom, and he literally lived in a quite cluttered little place right there by the leg of the water tower. So it was easy to. It loomed over the whole town, so it was easy to just once you got to Swainsboro, you could find him.
Right off
and he always
the
had
frontage road.
interesting junk for sale.
There you
right
go.
Off the frontage road.
Off the frontage road. We need one. We need a good reverend too to call in. That'd be fun.
We do. We do need. We'll find one. There's a few around here that will be quite entertaining.
Yeah.
We're going to have Harvey, I think, next week.
Well, I was going to say we got but Harvey's a pastor.
Does.
There's a difference between a pastor, I think, and a reverend.
Reverend, yeah.
What do you think? Or a preacher?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could tell you some reverend story, but not on the radio. But I can tell you a lot of preacher and pastor stories on the radio and not be a problem. There's the difference.
No offense to any of the good reverends that are listening out there.
We had a good time last week with Faye Stapleton as our guest last week, and I hope any of y'all that missed that go there to Georgia Radio and online and click on podcast and go there and find the all the episodes. You can listen to them anytime on their podcast.
Yeah, Miss Faye, if you're listening, I'm sure you are tonight. I had a chance to listen to your broadcast from last week, and you have me feeling totally inadequate. So I have you to thank for that. Appreciate it. You were absolutely wonderful. I think you probably need your own show. You were awesome.
She's a natural.
We tried to give her own show last night, or when she was on last, and I don't, she hadn't called back. So
it probably will happen. You can't like the cannibal said when he ate the missionary, he burped and said you can't keep a good man down.
That's right.
Well,
he ate the clown. This tastes funny.
That is why Randy just said one of my old favorite dumb jokes was why cannibals don't eat clowns. Matt.
Why is that, Wade?
It tastes funny.
They taste funny. Golly. I can hear everybody rolling their eyes.
Absolutely.
Y'all see, Randy's jokes aren't any better than mine, not a bit.
There you go.
Here all night.
There you go.
Yeah, well, speaking of Randy, a lot of people on Georgia Folk and Farm Life know who Randy is, and there are a lot of people that have been on Georgia Folk and Farm Life for years and really don't know much about Randy. Randy has been a co-administrator of the group since day one, and he's been involved in it at various times. He'll get active, and then he'll kick back and watch and look and listen.
Life just kind of happens,
That's right. He's with being a dad. He's got two beautiful children, and they got a job that's demanding. Randy is a nuclear mechanic for a large power company. We won't give the name here, but that's what he does, and he's.
You said that better than I did it. Every time I say it, I sound like George W. Nuclear or whatever. Nuclear. The Texan comes out in it. You said it correctly. So, I didn't mean to throw you off, but I just wanted to praise you for the way you said that.
Jimmy Carter butchered nuclear. Yes, nuclear.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if I could work there. I couldn't say that every day.
Nuclear.
Well, there's a lot more glory in that title than the job, I'll tell you that.
Well, Randy's, how long have you been? You've been, what, 10 years?
Almost 11.
11 years working in that industry, and he's, I think he's a thorn in their side, but he's a natural at it too. You know, that's just better. Randy, I give you, if you don't know Randy, I'll give you a good example, Matt, and I hope you don't mind me saying this here, but Randy's and I are great friends, and I can tell this because it's truth, and Randy deals in truth. He doesn't dissemble or hide behind a facade. Randy is Randy. And if you ordered a train load and when it arrived, he's the only one that got off, you got your money's worth.
He ain't lied. He ain't lied. Now, I'm good folks, but he ain't lied there.
No, and you may edit that out on the podcast. We'll see, right?
Yeah,
but, yeah.
That's right.
Good thing we're not dealing with the FCC, but we are dealing with some sweet little old ladies, and y'all overlook the fact that I called Randy what he was and the kind he was just now.
That kind.
Yeah.
But yeah, Randy has been. He was part of the inspiration. Well, we said the other day, Faye and Randy, the two people that inspired me, or I use the term goaded. They goaded, but it sounds better to say they inspired me to start Georgia Folk and Farm Life. And Faye gave her memory of how the name came about the other day. But Randy was a big part of encouraging me. I was writing things on my timeline. He started a group. And then he's been a big help. He traipsed a lot of places, old historic. And his son was little. He would go with us. And I think about how many times we trespassed. You remember that, Randy, the day we were climbing the fence, the gate?
Yeah, he said, Daddy, what's that sign say there? You don't worry about that sign.
His son is very precocious, and that sign said no trespassing, Matt. As we climbed over it, it was screwed to the gate that we were climbing over and going in, and his son says, he was a little fella, he says, Daddy, what's that sign say? Well, he knew blame well what it said. He was just bringing it to his daddy's attention in a nice way. But, yeah, we went on and trespassed, and I think we found some arrowheads or something.
We had a good time.
We had a good time. Well, we trespassed a good bit. We never got shot, but we learned a lot and shared a little knowledge there with the young ones. But yeah, Randy's had a big influence on. I can't tell you how many topics that I write about that Randy will.
I'm in the background. I give him hints and topics and whatever.
Yeah. He'll text them to me just out of the blue, and I almost never fail. So, Matt, do we have a caller?
No. I was just going to tell you. Why don't we hand out the number if you want to? At the front of the show this time.
Last time.
Although that worked pretty well, though. I mean, we gave it out at the back end. Yeah.
All right. If anybody wants to call in now, we joked last week about having one phone and it was lit up. And we have one phone line, and that's it. And the number, in case you want to call in, and we hope you do, is 678-390-8633. That's 678-390-8633. That's correct, Matt?
Yeah, it's correct. And that's on the website, too. So you can just log on to the website there, and you can see it right there while you call in, if you're listening on your computer.
So Miss Faye mentioned last week about how the inception of the Georgia Folk Farm Life started. And yeah, I did. I goaded and coached Wade to try to start this group because he and I share a lot of same personality traits, and you wouldn't think of it just to look at us or listen to us, but we are pretty introvert type shy people.
True.
And not very sociable. We struggle with that kind of thing, and the medium of Facebook just give him an avenue to put his. He has one of the best minds, and I don't mean to fluff him up or whatever, but he has just a singular mind to remember things from way back in his past, and not only that, but remember everything he's ever heard, pretty much. And he has just an incredible wealth of knowledge to share with the whole world. And I was glad that he had somewhere to maybe it was in his middle age, but he kind of blossomed these last 5-6 years just because he had somewhere, he had an outlet to go to. And I'm very thankful that Miss Faye was part of that. And Matt, I'm glad that you had, taken that mantle and helped him along here. So just thanks for that.
Well, hey, I'm just happy. I'm just mashing buttons tonight. I'm over here mashing buttons right now too, but I appreciate it, Randy. Well, what's great about that is you guys have something that's so wonderful that everybody has started, and I say you guys. Georgia Folk and Farm Life, the family that is Georgia Folk and Farm Life, is so wonderful, and it spreads all over the state, and it reaches well beyond that. Of course, we all know that, but what a great family, and our hope is that we can grow Georgia Radio into sort of the home away from home, where you can listen while you're out working and while you're doing stuff. You can know that your family's right here and with you, and put some voices to some of these great stories and hear them. So that's the hope with this, is that we just kind of grow the community into this as well, so we can all be together.
Well, Matt, being on the radio, nobody likes to hear themselves talk, and so this is a little bit disconcerting, as you well know. But I'm gonna try my best to keep at it as long as y'all have me here tonight.
There you go. Well, y'all have fun. I'm gonna sit here and mash a button or two, and we're gonna hopefully have a caller here in a few minutes that'll brave the phone lines.
Matt, Randy, I were talking before the show, and we both he reminded me of something I've written about it, and we've talked about it before. Was somebody been in the hospital and told me, now when you go in the hospital, it's a very austere thing. You don't come out with it. Used to.
Oh, they charge you $3 prices.
Yeah, they charge you $3 prices, but used to. Country people around here, when they went to the hospital, Matt, they expected stuff. And when you got out of the hospital,
you had swag. Swag. They didn't call it swag then, but it was swag when you come back out.
And it furnished, country folks had hospital stuff, thermometers. Ain't nobody bought a thermometer at a drugstore. They got
foot
tubs and those dishpans. People shell peas. It's been.
You had stacks of them in the closet.
Oh, yeah.
When it was pea shelling time, you go get the stacks of foot tubs.
That's right. They all came from the hospital as freebies. And those little pictures,
you can't afford one of those now.
Everybody's grandma had those, and they prized it. If somebody went in the hospital and come out, and they would ask them, "You going to use your little picture? You got one of them? Did you get a little the little bucket thing? You going to use it? No, you can have it." And they would swap. It's like old women used to swap sewing material and stuff, but that was one of the things they swapped too. Hospital swag.
Hospital swag. We could have a whole. We could have a whole show on hospital swag. Huh? There you go. You can call and sell it tomorrow if you want to. It's probably pretty expensive these days. Send you home with it. Charge you for it.
That's antique stuff. You can sell that for a good price. But folks knew how to make do, and they saw an opportunity when they saw it, and they took advantage of it. But that's some good stuff.
Hospital swag.
And that leads me into something else. Wade has in his postings and whatnot, and I try to, and we have so many different members that are so knowledgeable. Country folks ain't dumb. I mean, we talk. Sure. We have a way about us that is slow and country and thoughtful, and we sound just ignorant. But I'm glad Georgia Folk Farm Life is up and about, and I'm glad this show is about, so we can talk about. Country folks are far, far from ignorant, and they have such ingenuity when dealing with so little, and they come out on top every time, seem like. So, that's just one stereotype I hope that we can disband and get away from. The smartest folks I've ever known have been country folk. This
is true. Yeah. Some of my greatest.
I got to say though, I have heard Wade talk about some who.
Oh no, we got some dumb ones.
I wasn't going to say dumb, but I mean just special. Isn't that what we say down here? Special.
It's special.
A little special.
Yes, bless their heart.
That's right. And
in the South, if you preface anything you say about somebody, if you preface it with "bless their heart," you won't go to hell for saying that.
Like I liked Jiffy corn muffin mix, and
bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
Lord,
you know.
Don't say
So,
it. So
I made Martha White the other night, and I want you to know that a few people ate it, and they kind of looked at me like I had done something. And I thought,
we're gonna have to get you. We're gonna have to get you on some lacy cornbread, son.
I know. Well, I've been
Lord.
asking. You know, I gotta come over for Sunday dinner at Wade's,
Okay.
and we'll learn how to make it right.
Well, now, but you know, you was asking about cornbread recipes. Now, Randy and I are great friends, but we have two different lacy cornbread recipes. He puts flour in his, and I'm just straight cornmeal. But that's because my granny made it with cornmeal, and his mom, Olive, made it with flour and cornmeal.
Just a dab. But I'm gonna tell you now, if you coming over Sunday dinner, if you're allergic to pork, you're just gonna die right off.
That's right.
Because we add bacon grease to everything.
Yeah. No, I'm not allergic to that. Yeah.
People in the South, they make anything out of a piece of hog. A hog just go by, we'll clip something off of him, and make dinner out of it. You know, just slow down.
You know what a whole show could be, and I'd love to do this just because I think it's so interesting. You know, all this, you hardly see the salt cured meats around anymore. I mean, you can get them a few places. Food Depot and Piggly Wiggly doesn't even have a lot of them anymore. But that would be a fun show to do on how to cook with that stuff. I can
remember when people had smokehouses, and they had this old barn here down below my house here that belonged to, it was this old Toby Johnson place, and Toby's in-laws. There's still strings hanging from the rafters in that barn there, and wires and strings where they used to have. It was just a lot of meat hanging in there. And smokehouses and barns, people go out there and just slice off a piece of cured pork. And I can remember when people used to not smoke so much meat, but sugar and salt cure meat. That was a big thing. And you see hams hanging up for sale all over the place at gas stations. And you don't see that anymore. When I was a boy, you go to a vacation through the mountains, you come back with a ham or two or a shoulder,
Well, folks just got away from some of the things that kept our mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers alive, from curing meats and canning. And we're losing a lot of those arts, which is, canning, preserving, smoking, making cane syrup. I have a great uncle still making cane syrup. He's 80. This probably will be his last year. We're losing so many of those dying arts.
Well, I'll interrupt you. Your Uncle John, I put a video on there this week from last year, last December. There's a video on here. If anybody wants to look at John, just search the name John Scott on there, and you'll see Mr. John grinding cane in his cane mill, and then making syrup.
I vote that we have a syrup boil next year.
That'd be good.
And we just invite everybody.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. You always wax poetically about it, So, I mean,
Matt, when I was a boy,
we got to have one.
And they still people like his Uncle John. Uncle John Scott makes good syrup. Harry Gay, and I hate there's several around here that do it. I'm leaving out people I ought to think of the name that still make syrup, but the difference is, Matt, there's something used to. You could ride down a dirt road, and there was house after house with old people and people that you could stop and speak to that was on the front porch. Now, you can go down a dirt road today, but those people aren't there anymore, and those old, so there's a difference.
And they'll give you different hand signals these days.
Yes, you get a different
it's not
kind of hand signal. But
if you're lucky.
When I was a cane grinding and syrup boiling today is still a great thing, but people were starved for entertainment at that time, and I can remember when crowds would come on a cold night in November, December, people would make syrup. And people didn't show up during the day. The farmer and the people would make syrup during the day. They'd make a few boilings, but when it got close to dark, the crowd would start piling in because it was just a nighttime thing. That's when the people came. They would eat supper, cook supper, clean up the dish. Let's go over to so-and-so's. They're making syrup. And there'd be a crowd there, and the young folks would be out doing what young folks do out there behind the syrup house out there in the dark. And
try not to let anybody see.
That's right. And there's a lot of folks was conceived and then got married, not necessarily in that order. because
of the syrup making. Yeah,
it's syrup making. But the older people would sit in the syrup house. And I've seen it. It would be cold, and you close up it, and the steam rising from that cane juice cooking down. You pour it in that big kettle. It might be 60 gallons. It might be 100 gallons, according to the size. People, and they used to feed old heart pound, old fat lighter, and then later people.
Look, there's so much respect right there that you just said, because even these days, the folks that are still making syrup have switched over to propane.
That's right.
And it's so easy, and I get it, I understand, but you got to think back.
You can't find the old cat faces and fence posts to burn those slabs like you used to either.
This is true, but think about trying to keep a temperature.
They could regulate it.
This is within, to make that syrup, to boil that syrup right, you have to be within 5 to 10 degrees to make it just right to keep it. Now, you imagine trying to keep that temperature with nothing but coals and wood logs. That is much respect for our elders right there.
Right. These people, old head, people refer to them as old heads, Matt. And there'd always somebody at a cane grinding and a syrup boiling that would help. They would pull that out a little bit, drag that log back out, and let the fire cool, or push it in, put another piece in there. They would tell you, young people would do it. You follow me? They would be sitting off. Well, to the side.
But Mama also had a wood-fired stove back then too.
So same thing.
Everybody knew. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah.
But then when it came time, when that cane juice turns, it's a green watery liquid. As it cooks and evaporates, it gets thicker, and the syrup caramelizes, and the water evaporates, and it thickens, and it turns to syrup. And when it turns to syrup, it goes pretty quick, don't it, Randy? It's a pretty quick thing. But you have a dipper. You would be skimmer, it's called. And it was usually a aluminum pan or a dish pan with a bunch of holes punched in it with a handle wired on it. And you would pick it, dip, and constantly pour it back in, dip and pour it in, let it run in. And that's how you watch this progression. And then you dipped off the foam and the dross and the trash off the top and put it off to the side in a barrel or tub. And people would bring that you take cane, part of the cane stalk, with some of the old timer pull out a pocket knife and start go out there where the cane was and cut the strips of cane rind and give it to the kids, and they would go in there and use that to peel the candy that was forming around the edge of the kettle. That it was like taffy, and you would eat that. And if you was lucky, you'd have your grandma or somebody bring some pecan halves, and they'd hand them out, and you'd take them pecan halves and scoop that candy up on them and eat the pecans covered with that dog candy. Yeah,
you got to know what you're doing there, and you're constantly scooping and straining and getting the dregs out and the skimmings off. But as you're dipping, you're pouring it back in. You're watching for it to caramelize, crystallize just a little bit. And again, I do not know that art. I'm just as guilty as the rest to not picking up on
Randy,
something.
Do you know the word that old timers used to describe when it got just right? It's not really a word, but it's a word they use.
If I do, I forgot.
Flecking off. When it starts to fleck. Yep. It's flake, but they'd say fleck. Yep. And when you told that, they would start to watch. In fact, the old timers would stand up when it got close, and they'd walk up there to the kettle and watch whoever was making the syrup. They would start watching and get ready to put their 2 cents worth in and offer their help. But when the syrup started making, it would, when you started pouring it back in and dipping it up and letting it pour out of the skimmer, it would start to break away in like sheets because it was getting sticky, like syrup candy almost. And when it got to a certain point, when it started to, as they say, the arts are starting to fleck off now, it's time to take it up. And it was time to take it up, and you'd have a wash tub here with
it's time to get busy. You got an army of folks trying to get that stuff.
And they would put a cloth, clean white cloth, and with clothespins all the way around, hold it in place, and that would strain it, and you would start dipping it up and putting it in that, and start bottling it and letting it cool.
So you wouldn't pick you couldn't pick the kettle up. I mean, there's no way, but you dip it out.
In the furnace, you dip it out, and bottle it up, and you. But that was the way you old timers used that term. All right, it's starting to fleck off. When you see the drip break away, you would see it. It had something you'd have to see. I would have to show you. I'll try to videotape that, Mr. John. Uncle John, make sure.
So my brother's been helping my Uncle John. I have to give him great props. I haven't been able to help this season. So Jonathan North, he's been helping Uncle John in the cane field. Much respect to you for helping him do that. And
well, let's mention, we hadn't mentioned Johnny. Johnny's an administrator of the group also, and he's like a year and a half younger than you, but y'all are close to the same age. But talk about your brother a little bit.
Well, he's something else now.
Love Johnny.
I absolutely love him. He is a unique individual, and I love him just for that. He's one of them, you say left brain, right brain people. Well, he's the opposite of whatever I am, because we have always, been at odds, but never in a bad way, just disagreeable.
As brothers can be.
Yes, absolutely. But he is absolutely the most loving and kind.
Yes.
As he could be. And he's been, like I said, been helping Uncle John in the cane patch. He's been this past week, y'all. He's cutting. He's cut and stripped enough cane there for Uncle John for 2 boilings. So that should be coming up. They should be boiling off sometime this month. But Wade mentioned one thing about the skimmings, and I just want to mention this for anybody that don't know. Those skimmings, that's just trash. That's just waste for human consumption for the most part. And them skimmings can be tossed to the side and left to their own devices there, and
cane berry.
In a little bit, you're gonna have yourself something there that that's being hard up for something to drink, but it will ferment and make you.
And people did drink it.
Yes, sir.
Cane bug. That give it to the hogs and watch the hogs get drunk. Some of them slip over and drink it themselves.
That's right.
I was going to ask if
hogs drink it.
Yeah, if the hogs would have it. Yeah,
they be swole up.
They did. It was fun. There again. Country people would starve entertainment, Matt, and watching the hogs get drunk was fun. That was fun, and I know if he's a PETA person, he just had a stroke. But
yeah, well, I think they long had that stroke after you said if a hog walked by, we're liable to cut something off. I mean, that's the first line in the promo this week. Hey, somebody tried to call in tonight.
You have to edit out half of this. Go ahead, Matt.
No, somebody tried to call in tonight, and I missed it. I was raptured with your, I think I used that word wrong. Anyway, I was taken with your story, and I missed the call. So call back. The number again, 678-390-8633. If you want to call in and share a story tonight with Wade and with Randy, you can do that tonight.
Well, after that chicken clipping the other day, I don't think Peter's long gone. We
what about the wing clipping?
Oh,
the wings?
yeah, they had them.
Or the coyotes, the yotes.
Oh Lord,
I think that guy was a troll. I think but
I ain't gonna apologize.
That was too much for Randy. Listen, that was one the other day. It was a guy posted about coyotes, and when I saw the turmoil, I said I went to the activity log, Matt, to see which one of the moderators and administrators approved that to start with.
It was Randy,
and I looked. It was Randy, and then I couldn't quit laughing because Randy did it because he was just for the pure old devil fun of it.
Just messing and gamming.
And it worked too because they was said, "Oh Lord, we had to get rid of several members on that one. We had to remove and block them. They got carried away on that one." But
I never knew that some folks out there thought coyotes was afraid of your animals in the yard.
Afraid of your fur babies,
yes.
You said.
Chickens and cats and dogs, the coyotes is afraid of it.
Yeah, did not know that.
I have yet to see that.
Yeah, well, you learn things on Georgia Folk and Farm Life, Randy, that you don't know anywhere else.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. Hey, I ain't trying to plug Swampwise, but
oh yeah, there you go.
So we started Swampwise as an alternative to Georgia Folk and Farm Life because early on we had some topics that we just could not touch. I mean, we just couldn't touch them, and Black Panthers was one of them. People just adamant that there was Black Panthers in Georgia and the South, and some others like.
And then the snake post.
Snakes and all sorts of stuff. So we created Swampwise, and understand Swampwise is spelled SWOMP, swamp. And if you ever been in the swamp, you know it's an O and not an A.
That's right.
Because if you say swamp, you never been in the swamp. I'm telling you.
You ain't been coon hunting.
you ain't been there. So it's Swampwise with an O. You go over there and pretty much anything that your heart desires and Facebook will allow is on there.
Yeah, don't go to Swampwise if you're easily offended. If you're easily offended, go over to Swampwise. Yeah, how about that? That's what we really want. We want you to go over there and get offended.
We'll all have some fun, and it'll be fun for a little while till you take tail and run. But no, we've had some good discussions on there early on. We haven't had any lately, but no, that one's been a fun little group to have.
It's a sordid place. Don't go there. If you like to say, don't go there. They'll go by droves now. Everybody, do not go to Swampwise. Do not. I repeat.
Yeah, don't go there if you're easily.
Which means
you're easily put off. Yeah, there you go. Well, what do you want to do? We said 30 minutes, but do you want to keep going? I think everybody's having fun.
Well, sure. You're the boss there.
I'm not the boss.
It's up to you, dog. We here all night.
I just pay the bills. No, I say we go. There's plenty of people listening. I hope somebody calls in tonight. So,
Randy just gave me a topic here which Randy is great at that, but he's talking pond fishing. And when you say a pond fishing to a Southerner, you think, well, you mean going over and throwing a line in the pond and catch fish. No, what we're talking about is when a pond has to be drained and repaired or restocked, and you fish it. You hold a pond fishing.
Yeah. So what led me to that?
To get everything out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what led me to that? You were talking about the gathering of people and the fellowship and whatever. And I've only ever, even in my lifetime, I guess you'd say middle-aged now, and I've only been to one in my lifetime, and I know there have been several around. Even George L. Smith has been drained twice in my lifetime. Right. But I've only ever been to.
Yeah, that's the nearest to a big public fishing we had in years. Yeah.
Well, actually, if we count that one, I've been to two. So one was a private and that one was a public. But no, this is just a great big gathering of people, and I thought we could talk about.
Well, it's one of those things that I know like Oscar Moore said when he introduced me that time when I was speaking, he said,
the TV and whatnot?
Wade P was going to speak to us tonight. He watches a lot of television and knows a lot of SHI. And went and sat down. This was at a church thing that that was the introduction he gave me.
Wow.
And he didn't even stop. He just walked back by the microphone and said, Wade P was going to talk to us tonight. He watches a lot of TV and knows a lot of mess. And went and sat down. I said, well, thank you for that, Oscar. But yeah,
and that's
was it right off the frontage road?
Randy loves that. But anyway, my daddy was J.R. People. He built ponds in Clear Land, and he built a lot of the ponds in like a 14-county area. And as part of that, people build new ponds. They'd also rebuild old ponds. They have to be drained and deepen the edges now and then and restock them, and work. Maybe the spillway was leaking or the dam was leaking and you have to rebuild them. So that part of what Daddy did when we was young was drain ponds for people and handle a pond fishing. And if it was a very big pond, there was going to be a lot of fish in there. Man, people used to show up by the hundreds and hundreds of people. Vehicles would be lined up and down the road. You couldn't even you had to park and walk to the pond on Saturday when it was, and they would advertise it on the radio and put out posters, and it was a big event. Again, like Randy was alluding to, what made him think about it is another one of those lost things that crowds used to show up for that don't now, like peanut boilings and hay balings and cane grindings and things. People would show up by the droves. Hog killings and things, and that was one of them, a pond fishing. And we would go out. Daddy was a master at lowering the water on a pond. We would advertise it to be the pond fishing and draining, as my daddy would say, going to drain the pond, was going to be at 10 10 o'clock Saturday morning on the certain date that would be publicized, and he would let the water off slowly on that pond until it got down on that day. He could have it down to where, it was only about 2 feet of water left out there in part of the pond. And he would send us boys, me and my brothers, and some of the employees that worked for him, and others. And if it was a big pond fishing, a lot of times the landowner would do it on halves with somebody like Daddy did with him. Other times, say Daddy would just as part of fixing the pond, he would handle it and get the fish. Sometimes they would split them. Other times, if it was a big pond, like a mill pond, like George L. Smith back when it was a private pond, they would sell shares, and you could buy shares in the pond fishing. So say 10 people bought shares at a certain price, they got that percentage of the fish that come out of the pond, and they could keep or sell them or dispose of them. And the crowds would come, and when we did, Mama would be there with scales and a table set up, and we would go out there in the water, and as the water got low, the fish would come to the top, and you'd get them up with nets and dip nets and catch them by hand and drag them out. And you wanted the big bass. People liked the big bass, and they liked the big catfish and the nice brim and all. You would carry those fish out, and people clamoring to buy them. Matt, they would be people just, I want that one. And so Mama sold fish, and we drug them out. And when it got down pretty low and muddy, sometimes, now people don't like this, they put rope on. They'd put rope on out, and that would take the oxygen out of the water, and the fish would come to the top, and you'd finish up then. To get them last fish, it was so elusive by putting rope on in there and get them out. And but that was a big event. And
it was a way to sell the fish off, to get them all out of the pond. And
that's right. Randy just reminded me. Randy just reminded. We got time for one more little story.
Yeah,
we kind of feed off one another. Look here. If you know Wade, for 2 weeks he's told you the same story 3 times. But every now and again he comes up with a new one.
Randy and my buddy Brian Sparks and Randy's brother Johnny and Chris, but they surprised once in a while. I'll tell them a story, and they're like, you've never told us this. It was like, wow, it's a big event. When I actually think of one I hadn't told them 20 times.
But talking about the fishing and whatnot reminded me of another story. It's funny.
My grandma and my daddy, mom and daddy was Rainey and Maybelle Peebles, and they was nobody's ever country as Rainey and Maybelle, and they was poor sharecroppers, never owned nothing, and worked hard all their lives. And they was married. They got married the second Sunday in July 1914, and they both died just a few weeks apart in 1981. So
stop.
Huh?
No, just stop. Who in the world remembers all that?
I'm sitting here thinking the same thing.
Well, I remember Grandma telling me that they decided to get married, and it was on a Sunday, and somebody told the preacher that would marry him was eating dinner at somebody's house after church, and they walked there, and then they borrowed a Model T Ford from somebody and drove it over there, and the preacher married. They sat in the car, and the preacher walked out there and married them, and they took the car back to whoever it belonged to, and they walked home.
People do not remember these things.
They walked home, huh?
They borrowed the car they went and got married in, but they didn't even have a place to live. In other words, Pa took Ma back to her mom and daddy's house, and then he took the car back to whoever it belonged to, and then he walked back home. And it was a few days before they could get back together, but they was married.
Now y'all see what I'm saying about his memory. This man here, I don't know.
Don't ask him what time the show starts. But
he can't remember that now.
I keep telling people wrong. That's a standard. But back in I believe it was like 1933 or 34. It was at the bottom of the Depression, and Kite was a booming town. It ain't much to Kite left anymore, but people went to town on Saturdays, and they didn't have refrigeration. They had ice, and they'd pack fish and ice, and they'd get railroad cars loaded with fish come in on Friday to sell on Saturday, and people would come to town. Even small towns had stores that would sell fish, and they'd have mullet or sheephead, whatever they come in. And there at Kite one day on a Saturday, if it got late in the day and they hadn't sold all them fish, and they bought too many barrels of fish load off the railroad, they'd have to cut the price. They'd have a price war once in a while. And prices were cheap during that time anyway, in the Hoover days. But I can't remember the exact price amount, but they had a mullet fish war there in Kite, and I think it was Mr. Blocker and maybe Mr. Colson's stores. And Ma and Pa was standing in line to get mullet at Blockers. And I think the price kept going down, Matt, and going down, and it was down to where you could get, like, I think it was 15 pounds for 10 cents. And that's what...
That's not even worth getting it there, at that point.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Since they was waiting in line to get the 15 pounds for 10 cents, and a woman come over there and told her, says, Miss Maybelle, so if you go over there to Colston's now, you can get 30 pounds for 8 cents. And Ma told her, I don't need 30 pounds. I need 15 pounds.
Right.
Which is, that made perfect sense. And a bunch of people got out of line and went over to Colston's over there, but not Ma. They she knew how much she needed, and she didn't need 30. She said,
that was too much to carry home.
Yeah, as that old saying, that was too much candy for a nickel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to wait right here.
Yeah.
I don't blame her. I think that's the way to do it. You just wait it out.
Yeah, she didn't need those 30 pounds. I just need 15 pounds.
What's going on in Kite these days? Not much.
Not much. Kite had a Ford Motor Company at one time, and they had a theater. They had a lot of bank. Had a lot of, like a lot of little towns, but ain't nothing left there now but a 4-way stop and the beautiful old Masonic Lodge is I think the Ladies Garden Club or something.
Well, while we're talking, that may be, but Kite, Georgia, they still some good folks
fine people.
yonder way. So don't you think that ain't true?
No, the good folks are still there, and Adrian and Kite and Meeks and Covina and Lexi and Nunez and Garfield and all these little places. Neville's and Groveland and Daisy, and I mean we could go on, and they some fine. I know people that good, godly people, some of the finest, sweetest folks in the world. There's not much commerce in those towns anymore. The railroad's gone, but pretty much. But things closed up, a lot of empty buildings. But there's a lot of open hearts and kindness in those places.
You write about a lot of that too, and I know Randy probably is the source of a lot of that inspiration on there too. Kind of poking you along in the right direction there.
I would say you can see by the interchange back and forth here this evening that's how I started. I was writing things on my Facebook, and Randy said, in Facebook, you need to start a group. And I said, well, I'm not sure I know how to, but I figured it out. Now, when I first got online, I drove Randy crazy, asking him how to use a computer. And
try starting a radio station.
Yeah. Hey, and I want to interject just a second. Now, when we talk about the stories that Wade tells, he has not been able to tell probably half of them on his even on the Georgia Folk and Farm Life, or even you can see little glimpses in his stories on Wade Wright's, the alternate group over there. But there are so many stories that are true. They're real life, honest stories. But because they deal with certain topics, or they deal with people that are very much alive or whatever, then these are awesome stories. You just can't tell them neither. Not on Facebook, not on a writing group, or even on the radio.
Maybe I should write them all down and put them up and let you or somebody have them, and then years from now when I've been gone and all these other people gone, then maybe you can unseal them.
Here's the
lost stories.
We were talking, and don't get me wrong, you are a great source of material because you listened, back when you were young, and you can remember so much that you heard. But if there are any young people out there listening to this broadcast tonight, I just encourage you, please, go to your grandparents before they're gone and just listen.
Yeah, you've encouraged your kids to do that, and that's commendable.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, we got about 10 minutes left here in the show. I hope there's a lot of people listening tonight. Just afraid to call in this evening, I guess. But
I want y'all to call. Somebody call in and let's
ring the phone here. 678-390-8633 is the number they can call, and get on with Wade and Randy tonight as we wind things down. Everybody waits till the last second, Wade.
Yeah, y'all don't be scared of that train story that Wade told earlier. He's true. He was right, but I'll be gentle.
When did and you said the railroad pulled out of Garfield when I drove down there the other day. The buildings are still there, but it pulled out in the 50s.
51, I think.
Yeah, you can see
it crossed. The railroads crossed. There was 2 railroads, and they didn't cross downtown. That's unusual. They crossed out from town out there, and there's a story there. I don't know. Probably might have been somebody in Garfield wouldn't let them have the right of way, but it crossed on the edge of town where most every other town downtown is where they crossed.
You can still see the railroad beds there. There's still streets there atop where the railroad beds were.
Well, I think it's about time to have a gathering, and maybe launch our next big show at some point too.
Absolutely. We missed one this year, but that COVID, really did a number, and we were kind of on the fence about whether or not to have that, but we just felt it was in the best interest of all involved, because a lot of our members are on that side of the fence where they might be vulnerable. We didn't want anything to happen. So,
I want to add one thing. Some of you say, well, I don't know Randy, and when you hear his voice and you've seen his picture, but I think we did 5 videos, didn't we?
Yeah.
At your house.
4 or 5, yeah.
5, I think it's 5. 4 or 5 videos. And if you just enter search, the little spyglass thing on there on Georgia Folk and Farm Life, if you'll just put in Randy video, you'll find those videos. And it's which Randy and I you can see we're both on camera. And it's been, how long, about 3 or 4 years ago we did those?
Yeah, so, at that point, the group was getting along pretty good. And I could see, and you could see the potential in the group, but both of us not very technologically savvy. So that was about the best we could do at the time. And that's why I'm glad to see, Matt, you get involved and take this thing and move it along a little bit, because that was about as good as we could do. But yeah, it shows some of the. Back then, we were still able to basically read every comment.
That's right.
Because there were so few people, and even today, the posts are great, but the comments within the post are some of the best that you will ever see online.
If you don't do anything in a day but go to Georgia Folk and Farm Life, scroll through, find an interesting post, and read the post, but then go read the comments. Some people never read the comments because it's obvious that they'll say something that's already been said 20 times. So, but that's fine. That's okay. You don't have to. And that's not a criticism. It's an observation. But to read the comments, you'll find that you'll learn a lot and you'll laugh a lot.
Yes, because go back to my earlier comment where I was saying country folks ain't dumb. There are some absolute gems in those comments. Yep. I'm telling you.
Well, guys, I hate to do this, but we got about 2 minutes left tonight before we get to our big commercial break we got to take. So you got to pay the bills. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that. But, you got another minute and a half, Wade. Don't clam up now, Wade. Take us home.
Let Randy talk now.
Well, thank y'all for having me tonight. I know y'all got better material than what I had tonight. But I enjoyed it. I hope y'all can have me back sometime, and I'll be welcome.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm ready. We got to have a cane boil. I'm ready.
Yeah, next year we'll try to. I think we can work that out. Yeah.
There's no COVID at cane boiling time.
No,
that's right.
Heat just dissipates it all.
That's right. Well, guys, thanks again for hanging out. It was fun.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, been a blast. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Wade.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Wade, what are we going to do next week?
We have Harvey Williams in our
Harvey Williams.
Love Mr. Harvey.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be a blessing. If he survives another week, because he keeps taking pictures of rattlesnakes.
Get up close, face to face.
Yeah, a little. Careful, Harvey. We'll see how that goes.
What great pictures he takes.
He does.
Unreal.
Magnificent human being and a magnificent photographer.
All right, Wade, you going to close it out? It's all yours.
Yeah, we just want to thank you again, and we're here each and every Tuesday night at 7:30. GeorgiaRadio.com, Georgia Folk and Farm Life Radio Show. We're glad to bring Georgia Folk and Farm Life from Facebook to the airways for it. Online podcasts are available of all the shows. Go to the Georgia Radio page, click on podcast. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. So long, everybody.
All the best country.
Georgia Radio. Everywhere you go.